Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. Have you ever wondered what is possible beyond possible? What is the thing you've been wondering and inquiring about? Are you just feeling stuck and don't know why? Are you thinking or are you seeing? Seeing allows us to expand and have this other experience. We want to invite you for that wake-up call. We want to invite your spirit, your soul, so to be more alive, more connected. Glenn Brooks has been a life coach for over 33 years, author of Divorced to Patterns, Not Each Other, an explorer of what is possible. He has worked with people all around the world. Join us for a wake-up conversation, a dialogue with you. We will have some of the most interesting contributors. We will be talking to some of the most interesting people and have some of the most resourceful teachers, wisdom-filled people from around the world join us. Share your voice, ask the questions, become free of the known into a new world of possibility. We are going to talk about all the things you wonder about: how to live, how to heal, how to connect, how to love, how to be seen. Your life is precious. Enjoy it.
Thank you. I'm Glenn Brooks. Welcome to the Vibrant Living Network. I'm going to make that introduction even much simpler. So, really deep welcoming to you. Let me ask you something before I introduce Lisa and John Adago, who's going to be with us. We're doing this series on, sort of waking up. What does it mean to wake up? We're going to get into that. What does it mean to have a different style of learning and innovating? Right? We're going to kind of question that and dive in there today. I did something a while ago, and the focus is to really live from this place of truth, simplicity, and love. Truth, simplicity, and love. So the whole day, the whole night, to kind of make that the practice. As an example, when you walk, with that sense of grace. Walk with that sense of, it means something. What happened? And I haven't really got to share this with you guys, but I had a mentor about 30 years ago, and I thought about it. I hadn't thought about her. And I called. She's a medical doctor, a true innovator. And it turned out that not only is she still alive, she's still teaching and working with people. She's 98 and a half years old, young. And so one of the questions she asked people, and I thought I would open the program today with this question, is no matter what their diagnosis of what's going on, she would ask them, like, what has the most meaning for you? Like, what is it that really, right now, brings you that sense of meaning, or brings you that sense, if you're a couple, what is that brings you meaning together? What is it allows you to have that sense of meaning together? Right? Because, our whole life is really about the upside of attachment is the things we feel joined at one with, or in different traditions they might call this a tree of life. What is that thing that sort of glows beyond our doing, beyond accomplishment, that lights us up and then lights us up together? So, I was just thinking, I had the honor to have John Adago, Lisa LaRose, my producer. She's like a very beloved, like a sister. Been with Lisa over 18 years, and we've been exploring this in different forms around the country. So the thing is today, how do we have a different conversation without just using our intellect and our analytical mind, so that our thinking, let me ask you a question, your thinking comes and goes at every moment. You ever wonder, like, what moves you beyond just your thinking? What is it that is moving? And how do we bring that to the pulse of this moment? I want to explore that today. How do we kind of not just wake up, but wake up together, right? How do we use how do we use waking up? And what I mean by waking up is we become more radically alive, and that no matter what we're going through, we have some kind of vitalness to the process, to the journey of something. Like, sometimes we get sort of distracted by where we're going. And, it's like, in the Zen tradition, they're really into the area that when you sleep, you're sleeping to sleep. You're sleeping for that motion, for that moment. Lisa, since you were kind enough to write up the guidelines for the show today, the write-up, what's striking you today? And wholehearted welcome and thank you, Lisa.
Oh, well, thank you, Glenn, and welcome, John. The quote that we chose to start the show off with is exactly what you're talking about. And I'm very excited to hear John's insights and how he sort of felt that it's impacted him. But it was a quote from Gurdjieff, and it says, "A man is never the same for long. He is continually changing. He seldom remains the same, even for half an hour." And, it caused a lot of pondering for me, how things change so quickly. Sometimes we want to hold on to a moment, but it's in the change that new things are born. And, today I'm welcoming in beautiful blue skies and sunshine, and I feel extra alive. And know that spring's on its way, and thank goodness I'm not the same person that I was a half hour ago. I had unexpected challenges arise, and you breathe through and you move into the next thing. And yeah, it's an interesting practice for sure. So I'd like to welcome John, and we were just having a brief conversation a moment ago that if we were all sitting at the same table, how would we share our conversation, what's changing and bubbling and unfolding. And welcome, John.
Welcome, John.
Thank you.
So in hearing that quote, how in fact do you feel yourself that even the last half hour things have changed and unfolded for you over this journey?
Well, as we've noticed, the thoughts come and go. What we don't so often realize is that underneath each thought is a desire. And it's the desires that are constantly changing. We get pulled and tugged through the day by these desires that arise up from our subconscious. The problem is the desires are often conflicting and pull and tug us in different directions, perhaps even opposing directions. Because these desires aren't something that we formulate, they're kind of habits. And they can rule the life, or at least the day. So it's important from time to time to consider what it is that I want. And by that I mean, what is it that I think will fulfill me, will make my life more meaningful, will give rise to happiness, or some people call it well-being. And it's important that that be formulated precisely. Because once I have an aim, then I have a direction to strive. And once I have an aim, then I, in a sense, know which way to go. I can determine, in a sense, what's right or wrong.
So, John, if this is our dinner table and we're having this conversation, what else would you want to say about yourself to people as a discoverer, as someone who began to experience a different listening? You began to listen in a different way in life. How would you, because obviously a lot of us, we've been raised in a certain linear analytical way. So how did you participate in this experience rather than just having an intellectual understanding of it? What was the doorway to the experience?
Well, you spoke a little earlier about waking up and what actually that might mean. Well, one of the things that started me on this path or way was I began to read certain descriptions of our state of attention, our ordinary everyday state of attention, which is very much touch and go with the moment. And so while reading something or speaking to someone or listening to someone, I find my mind and heart distracted by thoughts and feelings, and my attention might drift on and off and in and out, so to speak. Well, that's clearly not an optimum state. And when I become kind of aware of this distraction and sometimes even an outright daydream, well, I'm a little disappointed because I know I'm capable of a higher level of awareness. And the question is, well, how does one move upward and outward? How does one go from this state of attention in which getting what I think is important is often very hit and miss? Now, some of the philosophers that I studied taught specific methods about how you go about refining the quality of attention and expanding the awareness.
You know what I want to ask you, and Lisa, I want to get your comment. And welcome everybody to the Vibrant Living Network. So, as I sit at the dinner table with John and Lisa and you guys, and there's someone who's joining us that I want to just kind of give the space for. She knows who she is. She could feel it right now. What I wanted to add to this conversation was I relate a lot to what you're saying, John, and Lisa, you're putting a beautiful quote together. So I relate to what you're saying. I relate to, I think I was in 8th grade maybe. I forgot what grade I was in, but I somehow would be around people and they would do their jobs. They would, I'd see my teachers or I'd go to a store or a bookstore. And I noticed every now and again there was a pleasant person. And I realized it wasn't what they were doing, how to get done, but somehow what they brought and the quality of their beingness, the quality of this other quality that wasn't talked about. It wasn't a common language. Well, you might call that person a kind person. And what I noticed in my first wave, when I was really curious, I had a mentor who had tuberculosis when he was a young man, and he went to the Swiss Alps to do this breathing therapies. And he talked about how his first half, early on in his life, he learned, he ate like everybody else and died like everybody else. Same thing Jack LaLanne said to me, Jack, fitness guru, said that his father passed away very early on, but he realized one day he didn't eat like his father. He didn't think like he didn't pay attention the way his father paid attention. So as I began, my first stage was I was very observing myself, and I realized that I thought I had these, if you will, thought viruses. They were sort of there. They were hidden. But I realized everybody seemed to live in a thought virus kingdom. I didn't have that language then. Most recently in my life, to kind of just jump ahead and join the table, if you will, I had what I would call a relational tsunami. I had a major disruption that caused me the whole level of seeing and inquiry about relationship and about the biology of relationship and how relationships impact us. And that's another major piece of this. You know what I mean? Like I know you're married, John, and at least you have a long-term relationship. So I started also when I had this relational disruption, I started to really pay attention. Like, how do we breathe together? How do we impact? I heard about the study years ago. It was a study about these people who went to this retreat center. It was a monastery. And it was people over 70. And half the group agreed that they would just go there and have fun, period. They just have fun. They would do what they wanted to do for 10 days. And, they would have a contemplative period. And the other half of the group, they're both over 70, the other half agreed that they would do everything as if it was 1955. They would sing that way, dress that way. And they had people kind of study their physiology. And it changed profoundly. They grew young. Biologically, they grew young. And I thought what was interesting about that was, in relationship, and this became a major, it opened up my whole life. And how I experienced opening my whole life is there was a particular set of nights, 14 nights in a row, where I could see and feel things very differently in my body, my cells. And I felt I didn't really experience relationship at this level before. So I experienced another whole level of relationship, which you could kind of meditate and do a lot of solo things and not have this level of relationship. And at this level of relationship, I just saw things beyond myself. I breathed in a way that was different, and I noticed my breathing and just who I was different in relation to people. And how I noticed that was they said things to me, and they were safe with me in a way that was profoundly opening and touching. So the level of relationship about 8 years ago just filled my whole – it just was so relevant on so many levels. I was also curious about how do people settle and consciously develop an attachment style that's so different that they grew up with. In a world where everybody uses left and right, this is my ex-partner, this is my ex, this is, the person I divorced. It's such a world that the language itself reminds us there's a division, there's a separation, and we somehow normalize that. Even spiritual people, they talk in a way like, this is a part of my life that's all divided, that's kind of far away from me. So I'm curious, as our dinner guest, John, I know you've been married a while, I'm just curious how this life where you have a solo meditation and solo awakening, how as a granddad who also is now a grandfather who's also written books for children, speak a little bit about this part of your life that's relational. And we'll continue with that. Well, someone's bringing some, looks like some desserts to the table right now, John, so we can take a break.
Okay.
Take a few exhales, and stay with us. John Adago, we're going to talk about how do you bring this up to your relationships? Make it real. Your life's precious. Enjoy us. Enjoy your life. Enjoy this moment. Stay with us for Vibrant Living. I'm Glenn Brooks.
The Real Conscious Connection. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Hello, I'm Sandy Sedgbeer, host of OMTimes Magazine's flagship radio show, What is Going On? My passion is sifting through information, research, and innovations from new thought teachers, speakers, and researchers pushing back the boundaries of what we know about life, energy, metaphysics, and the universe. I love shifting perceptions about who we are, why we're here, and how quickly impossible becomes normal when we open our minds, expand our awareness, and accept that the only limits that exist are those we place upon ourselves. So if you're the kind of forward-thinking, eager investigator of what lies beyond the current reality that most perceive, why not make a date to come play with me in the field of possibilities at 4 p.m. Pacific Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time every Thursday, and together we can discover what's really going on.
Hi, this is recording artist and composer Yuval Ran, inviting you to a voyage through the chakras, a new double album of guided meditations to transform your life, a sublime musical medicine for nourishing inner peace and reaching to your higher virtues. Get it now at metamindfulnessmusic.com, METTA mindfulnessmusic.com.
In the wake of a disaster, what one thing can you send that will help people the most? A blanket, a tent, a sandbag, a doctor. Actually, if you send a monetary donation, you send all these things. Even a small donation can make a big impact and can quickly become exactly what people affected by disaster need most.
In the wake of a hurricane, your monetary donation can make a huge difference to those in need. To donate, visit supporthurricanerelief.org. That's supporthurricanerelief.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
It's quite a miraculous thing having a breath rhythm, right? You breathe, you exhale. Vibrant Living Network, I'm Glenn Brooks. John Adago, East meets West. Lisa LaRose, who lives like a beautiful flower and plant. Living like a flower and plant is a beautiful thing. You receive the water, you receive the air, yeah. So just a question of paying attention to what we are, right? So I was asking John and you, Lisa, I was just saying the relational impact is so strong. It's so strong. We deny it. We pull away from it. We resent certain people, and yet we lose ourselves when we sort of pushing away from being the human being, because the human being needs relationship. And we talk about someone like Gurdjieff. I'm always so struck about his relationship with people, and you brought it up in different ways, Lisa, that this guy was he was kind of like, I got to ask John about this, but he just seems like he was like a street performer. He was an improv artist. He was a comedian. He was this sort of unpredictable, in Buddhism, they might call it crazy wisdom. In the Native American, maybe he's like a coyote. It just seems like he's doing things to kind of call to people's attention to how they're relating to things. Are they asleep or they're awake? So in my own experience, I feel like I had this relational awakening that changed my breath and being. And then I felt a different relationship with people. I felt a different way I could bring to them. So what I'm curious about, John, and your experience with the fourth way and about awakening, I'm curious, as now you're a grandfather writing a book for children, and now you're going to be teaching around the country and sharing this at seminars. How did it change your relational life?
Well, the first relationship that it has to change is the relationship with yourself. I've written above the temple at Delphi, Mount Apollo in Greece, is the phrase, know thyself. And that became the touchstone for Western philosophy. When we're involved with other people, we're generally aware of the other people around us, the person we're speaking to. We're generally aware of the circumstances around us. But most of the time, I'm not in the picture. I'm not aware of myself. Another person's gestures and the tone of their voice is quite apparent to me. But I'm often oblivious to the tone of my own voice and to the gestures and my animations. I'm aware of people's reactions to me, but I'm much less aware of my reactions to them. And this striving to refine the quality of my life, to become more than what I am, begins with this observation of myself. And this isn't a matter of ruminating about in my mind about what I did yesterday or what I'm going to do tomorrow. We're talking about presence. You mentioned Glenn speaking about that man that impressed you. He was present.
Right.
He was right. When he walked in the room, he was there. He was aware of the people around him, and he was probably quite aware of himself. People sense this presence. It doesn't happen mechanically or automatically. It's something that requires an intentional effort, and actually it requires knowledge and practice. What these master teachers taught was how to increase this awareness of myself, deepen this understanding of who and what I am by impartially observing how I'm behaving, speaking, noting how my actions line up with my thoughts.
Let me ask you a question. If you had an imagery, maybe you do, for an awake people that are awake, what kind of imagery comes to your mind around being a person that's awake? Like, do you have imagery or have a certain way of seeing or sensing this experience of being awake?
Yeah, well, there's certain qualities.
Qualities. Let's talk about qualities.
A saint leaves a sweet and gentle presence, they say sometimes. Mm-hmm. Or that we respect a man where thought and word and deed are all the same. That what he does and what he says are the same. If I were to think of people that I considered to be a finer quality of life, a finer level of awareness, I would expect to see harmony. People who are very productive, people whose actions are effective. They're not contradicting themselves by one action in one direction one day and another action the next. And when I'm in the presence of people like that, because you spoke about relationships, what's apparent is what they care about in the moment is the people around them.
Right.
Their emphasis is on taking care of the other person in the relationship, whether that be a partner or a customer or an associate, a child, a parent. The roles constantly change, but what needs to be consistent is this wish on my part to be of use to others. And when that happens in a relationship, well, the other people are naturally quite inspired and attracted to you. We all want to be listened to. We all want to be cared for, but not in a sentimental way. I mean, she may be a little overweight and I bring her chocolates. Well, that's not a gift for her. That's a gift that I hope will endear her to me. Mm-hmm. That's a gift to me. Mm-hmm. And in addition to gaining a little weight, she'll also begin to grow very indifferent to me because she doesn't need that quality of care. There's this art of love, which I discuss in the book Ancient Wisdom. Everyone wants to practice the art of love. And really, it's what defines one's life, how one learns to fulfill one's duties and responsibilities to family, to community, to profession, to virtually everyone whose lifeline crosses mine. But before you can effectively be of any use to anybody else, there has to be some ability to be of use to yourself. And this begins with observation, back to know thyself. And what these teachers taught was that every one of us is capable of awakening an observing faculty that just becomes aware of ourselves without judgment or criticism, like a scientist, simply notes how I'm acting, how I'm behaving, how I'm reacting. And it leads one to a deeper understanding of what actually I am and how that I am is no different from the I am in the person across the table from me at the dinner.
John, I'm curious that as you started to bring your attention in and really discover these truths and become very present and conscious of your thoughts and your focus and your awareness, and you had, sort of the life before this point, and you have you're exposed to the wisdom of these masters, and you're starting to take this into practice. The people that were around you sort of before this, now how did they respond? Did they start to see the change in you, and were they curious to know what you were doing, and how did that evolve?
Yes, if you begin to work on yourself, some changes begin to happen, and those changes are apparent to other people. And they might begin to ask, well, what are you reading, or what's going on, or They sense that there's a little happiness and efficiency and well-being in you, and everybody wants some of that. And so they inquire, just like I was inquiring, looking for people that I thought were more together than myself, and trying to get some sense of a direction that I might take a step up. But Gurdjieff said that your level of being seeks your life. And what he meant is, as you grow in understanding, as your understanding of your life and the creation deepens, well, then you begin to move in different circles. The people that you become attracted to and the people that you meet reflect that same level of understanding. And also at a certain point, you begin to seek out the company of people who have similar interests to yours. What am I going to do on Saturday night? Well, if there's a desire to have a deeper understanding of myself, certain places like a bar might not be the ideal place to spend Saturday evening. There's nothing wrong with it. I might meet some interesting people there. But perhaps I might also find myself drawn to other situations and other environments. And so I begin to look for a group. Spensky said you really can't do anything without a group of other people with a similar aim. So you begin to look for a group of people who share this interest in refining the quality of their lives.
That's very poignant. Glenn, were you going to say something?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Lisa, and John, and you guys, and M. All right. Yeah, what I was going to say is I went to New York City. I went to a place called the Eureka Institute, and this guy Oscar Chauza was a mystic. I just want to say, as I'm saying this, that yes, I was pulled away from, I guess some of the pain that seemed very usual. Even the pain that drew a lot of my friends to go drinking in the woods every week, or the pain that I sensed in a lot of shopkeepers or people that were sort of kind of carrying on this thing, this routine every day. And I heard about this mystic, this Oscar Chauza guy, and I went into New York, and they had developed a movement system called Psyche, or psycho-calisthenics. And I remember I was sitting, and they had us gaze at each other, not stare at each other, not really look at each other, but sort of get a sense of this other quality of shared community, they call it gazing. And I noticed that when I would gaze at people, it gave me a different experience of us together. It gave me a different experience, because I noticed during the day more and more that people actually didn't really ever met gazes, and intimacy was an awkward thing for people. So now I'm in my late teens or whatever, and I go to the Eureka Institute, and I'm getting a sense that there's another whole relationship, and sort of along this way, I met somewhere along the way, I met this unusual psychiatrist, and he said to me, my destiny is to help people make the kind of connections that in some cases aren't obvious to them. That I would help people make the kind of connections that aren't obvious to them and share with them resources. And that assisted me, because it was totally different than what I had heard with other people. Like other people saying, we'll get another job, or get this and do this. So the gazing, and then hearing this thing about bringing people together. And the other dimension of that was playfulness. It was realizing that, why are people so dang serious all the time? What is the serious thing about? As a matter of fact,
well,
go ahead, John.
The seriousness this is serious business. Our life is serious business. Just to comment a bit on Erika and Oscar.
Go ahead.
He traveled around and visited a lot of different groups and organizations. He was looking for knowledge. He was looking for methods Mostly he was looking for them so that he could put them in a form that he could then present it to others. And he did so. And the movements you spoke to, he got directly from Gurdjieff groups. But he changed them around in certain ways. But really the point of this work and the point of a group is that it brings you to the point where you take up the mantle and begin to make efforts yourself to apply the knowledge that's being given or apply the knowledge that you seek out. If there's a glimpse of truth, if there's an understanding, then the next step is, how do I put this into practice? How do I incorporate it into my day? If we're going to speak about refining the quality of attention or expanding the awareness, well, how does that actually happen? And the fourth way groups, and there's many of them around the country, they tend to be small cells, but there are groups, and around the world for that matter, of people who come together regularly for the purpose of conducting this experiment within themselves and speaking about it to others so that they can get confirmation. So they make sure they're not going off into imagination, that if they hear about an exercise and then they apply that and they get a particular result, they then go to a group and speak about it. And other people who have applied the same exercise then share their experiences. And so you get some verification that you're actually moving in a direction toward truth, as opposed to just kind of engaging in an exercise in imagination. And the key to it all.
All right, we're gonna continue.
Is the commercial?
Is the commercial? You're John. You're being an improv artist. You're innovating by the moment.
Yeah, it's the cliffhanger. We're waiting for
it's the cliffhanger.
We get back.
And I promise we continue. I promise we're going to get into playfulness. The other side of the commercial. John's his 17th book, The Other Side of the Commercial, The Advanced Teachings of Gurdjieff.
Feed your soul with waves of consciousness on OMTimes Radio.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Hi, this is New Age Grammy winner Paul Avgerinos. Thanks for listening to OMTimes Radio, and please support my peaceful healing music with a purchase at iTunes, Amazon, or wherever you shop for fine music. Just put my name into the search engine, Paul Avgerinos. A, V like Victor, G like George, E-R-I-N-O-S. You can also visit me at roundskymusic.com. Thanks for listening, and I'm wishing you the brightest of blessings.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Hello, I'm Glenn Brooks. You're listening to the Vibrant Living Network. Talking to John Adago, Lisa LaRose, and you. And I just want to pick up on the seriousness thing. Couldn't help it. So seriousness, yes, that was another tone or quality.
I hate to.
Are we going to go? Don't interrupt me. Go ahead.
Cliffhanger. We need the key.
Go with the cliffhanger.
Sorry.
Go with the cliffhanger. It's all right.
Please.
Go with the cliffhanger. Go with the cliffhanger.
John, could you please share the key with us? I'm waiting with anticipation.
It's in your commercial you speak about a conscious connection. Well, what does that mean? It begins with a connection with yourself, and then it expands to a connection of the true self and the person in front of you. The key to pretty much every endeavor is the quality of attention that we bring to it, the depth and the precision of that attention. Now, it's interesting in our life that we practice many things. We practice a profession. We may practice our golf game, or practice yoga, or practice singing. But the key to all of these activities is the quality of attention we bring to them. And it isn't often that we actually attempt to practice a finer quality of attention. Meditation is a practice that leads toward a finer quality of attention. Contemplation is an activity that leads to a finer quality of attention. The practice in the moment, and this has to do with enhancing relationships, but it also has to do with, it enhances the relationships because the truth is revealed, is the effort when you really want to connect with someone is that their needs become the focus of your attention. What drops out of the equation of what I need and what I want? That's what's sacrificed. The way we reach unity with another person is, in a sense, my ego ceases to exist. The two become one because I'm not really in the picture. Oh, I'm aware of myself, but I'm not acting for my benefit. I'm acting for his or her benefits. This could be called intentional or conscious love. And it's really the highest quality of gift that we can give to another person. That when they're speaking, we're listening to them as opposed to preparing what it is that I'm going to say next. That I'm listening to get a deeper understanding of who and what they are, as opposed to listening in the hopes that somehow I might get a clue that might help me get what I want. In unity, the two become one. And the two become one because it's only the beloved that's of any interest whatsoever. And the beauty of it all is this conscious or intentional love evokes the same in response.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I'm really curious now. As you started to discover this, John, and I don't know if you were married beforehand or not, and and then you had children. What did that look like as a family environment where you were practicing conscious love?
Oh, I would say very much like other family environments.
Okay.
The play doesn't change.
Uh-huh.
Now, I have managed to stay married to the same woman for 47 years.
Congratulations.
That's significant, and I consider extraordinary. But I can tell you that it doesn't require any less work and effort today than it did in the beginning. I mean, this mastering of the art of love, this is a lifetime endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
And an example of what I would call conscious love or intentional love comes to mind. When I first met my wife and I was involved in these ideas, but I was also at the time studying nutrition. And when I would see her, she'd come over to my house or whatever, I would kind of look at her and give her vitamins that I thought would be needed. It was just something that I did. I mean,
did you say it like that? These are the vitamins that are needed.
No, that's not what I said. I'd say, here, take some calcium, or just take some calcium.
Okay, you're more specific. Okay.
Or just, you have a cold, have some vitamin C this morning. Yeah. But then one evening, we sat down to dinner, and the vitamins that I was taking was next to my plate.
Yeah.
All right, so she responded in kind.
Oh,
now,
that was very nice.
I was really struck by that. First of all, because I'd read this phrase that conscious or intentional love evokes the same in response, but here I actually saw it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was very inspiring to me.
Oh, absolutely.
It works because all needs are fulfilled. But I don't have to concern myself with fulfilling mine. I have to concern myself with fulfilling the needs of the people that I love. My spouse, my children, my relatives, and the other people in my life. And virtually it should expand to everyone who crosses my path. Because in our ordinary state, really our concern is for just a few people that are close to me. And I don't much think or care very much about people outside that radius. And we need
I'm just thinking you have a rule. You carry your ruler. You have a ruler. You have a.
Well, yeah, pretty
some
much,
kind of.
Right?
You're out of my 15 feet, man. That's it.
Well, it's more like, what can you do for me?
Yeah. Right.
And if I don't see that if there's anything that he or she can do for me, then I'm not necessarily interested.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what, as one of the previous programs, this Einstein called this an optical delusion, that we only care for a very small circle of people around us, when in fact our mind and heart are capable of reaching out to the entire creation.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I want to answer. I want to bring up this inquiry. So, because I work with people who want to speak, I work with people who want to be what I call vibrant speakers, like you, like Lisa. So, I say to them. So the words I brought up seriousness before, and the purpose was that many people who impacted me basically would say life's far too significant and important to be taken seriously, and what they meant was the gripping and the intensity a lot of people bring, it amplifies their intention, and they don't really have an experience of their energy. So as an example, what I'm likely to do is bring a group of people to watch horses and nature. And just say, in this part, I want you just to observe the horses, and when we go back to the room, I want you to bring that to your movement. So serious to me is the experience a lot of people have where they kind of are in this experience of emergency. And when people are in experience of emergency, it's very hard for them to experience ease and flow and love. So I became very interested in the body, and when I had my experience, I felt I was able to breathe in my cells and in my body in a different way. Now, I experienced a shift, and so when I invite the audience to do this, I want you to play with during the week. I'm putting your intention, awareness, to gladfulness instead of seriousness. I want you to just play with the attributes of the words. So when we have different words like seriousness, that impacts our immunity, it impacts our flow. So that's sort of, I guess what I noticed, John and Lisa, was that the whole world around me was serious. And when I say serious, they were very in this emergency, rigid, this over-concentrated way of being that didn't have lightness and seeing in it, which I started to see as an obstruction. So I'm bringing that up to kind of just distinguish words and
yes, and also
right?
it's when you say serious.
Yes.
Well, that doesn't mean it can't be fun.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm responding with
you. Serious is
yes.
I consider myself to be a serious man, but that doesn't mean of course I enjoy life.
Yes.
and enjoyment and happiness is, in a sense, a confirmation that you're moving and acting in the right direction.
Let's ask Lisa if she considers you serious, shall we, John?
Sure.
Lisa? Lisa?
You know, this coming from somebody who, you know, I actually consider myself serious, but I have this other side of me that is very playful and has a lot of fun, but, you know, I tend to be a little bit more serious. But, you know, John, when you were speaking about, you know, the different things and just the small acts where things, the universe sort of responds, or people, you know, they feel your intention and your attention to what they're doing. It was bringing me to so many little moments in my life that people may not think were significant, but, you know, really touched my heart. Something is it's really beautiful. Something as simple as setting somebody's vitamins out next to their table, and I would encourage everybody to look around and see how they could be of service to somebody in such a small but profound way. You know, as they walk through the day and as they walk through the weekend, and you know, and every day of their life. But yeah, you know, if you were there, Glenn and John, I would be happy to set your vitamins out if I knew what it was that.
Yes,
you know.
it would make me very happy if you did that.
Yeah, no,
it's not just the pills; the intent and the action.
Yes.
I appreciate that. I'm being lost in that moment. I'm being lost in that moment.
Yes.
And I think the other part of that, which you did so gracefully too, is you honored that person's gift to you. And you accepted it. You know, it was, I mean, sometimes I think we get so used to doing for ourselves that when somebody does offer us a gift of something so beautiful, you know, we sort of push it aside. Well, I can do it myself, right?
Yes.
Well,
I just came from.
If I may just interject something that I learned actually recently during the last few years. Often when you come to somebody's home or even to somebody's office, the first thing they say is, you know, can I get you something to drink, a cup of coffee, would you like some tea, etc. And more often than not, I have an agenda that I've walked in with, and I'd really rather get to it. So I say, oh no, I just bathe. and
I thought you went over and put a chain on the refrigerator. Did you go and put a chain in the refrigerator?
That's right. But the higher road is to accept what's offered and allow the host to be gracious. They've offered to be gracious. They've offered to give you something, and you serve them by accepting the gift.
So true.
And it kind of turns a very ordinary transaction into something extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
It's the higher road, and it's a part of what we would consider like conscious living or intentional caring. And again, the focus is that the focus gets off of me and onto others. And what's so beautiful about that is it has the effect of liberating me from my ideas and my wants and my needs and my thoughts and my habits, and on all of the bondage that we're really trying to put behind us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm beginning to sound like a salesman, I think.
No, I don't. Not at all. Not at all.
Oh,
absolutely not.
Yeah. I want to give a shout out to Wendy. I want to give a shout out to Wendy at the East Hampton Bank. I saw her last week, and she unexpectedly, when she went to get a pen, it flew behind her back. She kind of grabbed it and it flew. And she said, "Is there anything else?" And I said, "Yeah, if you could please do the pen trick again." And she said, "What?" And I said, "The pen trick." And she caught it so quick, and she flipped the pen behind pen behind her back, and her whole spirit changed. And I laughed, and it was great. So, yes, breaking the hold of
sleepfulness and work and accepting the vitamins. It's so funny. That's a big deal. Someone accepting the gift. That's a big deal. When people accept the gift. I just came out of an environment where I experienced so much love the last 3 days, and I'm sort of just still breathing out the different aspects of myself, allowing that to arrive. So allowing the gift to arrive and being willing to receive it rather than denying it or pushing it away.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So, John, we actually have come up with a serious rating, 1 to 10 about you, and Lisa has the number. From 1 to 10, Lisa, how serious is John?
I wouldn't even know.
Okay.
There's no rating, no radius.
There's no reading.
No,
right.
no.
Right.
You know what?
Yeah.
Because
right.
I think,
right.
no, not at all.
Well, it depends on how you define serious.
Yeah.
That's true.
And life is a serious matter, and it's not for us to, it's to be enjoyed. But hopefully we don't.
John, give out your publishing. Give out your website real quick for the publisher.
We have 2 books. We have thejourneyback.net, thejourneyback.net. The 2 books are East Meets West and Ancient Wisdom Can Enrich Your Life Today. They're both available through Amazon, through my website.
Thank you, John.
And I can be contacted. I can be contacted through the website, thejourneyback.net.
Your life's precious. Enjoy it. The Vibrant Living Network is growing. We'd like you to be a part of it. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, John. Thank you. And also, wonderful spending this hour with you, Em. Thank you. Love you.
Thank you.